Hi everyone. Today's novel will broaden your horizons. I'm a girl raised in a wolf pack with great power and sharp intuition. But my life isn't as great as it seems. I discovered a shocking secret that could destroy the pack. Faced with a tough choice, expose the secret and risk expulsion, or stay silent and watch the pack's downfall. At this time, I met a mysterious boy who knew things I didn't. He helped me explore the secret. But as we dug deeper, we found ourselves in great danger, full of suspense and adventure. This story is a must-see. Chapter 1, Happy Birthday, Dee. The bride's white dress flowed like a serene river, cascading down her form in elegant waves. Her blue eyes, however, sparkle with the untamed excitement of a tempestuous sea, betraying her inner joy. The groom stood tall beside her, his dark, brooding eyes intense enough to make even the fiercest predator retreat. Yet, his genuine smile, filled with awe and adoration, seemed to illuminate the entire gathering. It was a moment of pure perfection, frozen in time. As I watched from my hidden vantage point, a part of me melted when the newlyweds' lips met in a tender kiss. I found myself silently cheering along with the guests, who erupted into enthusiastic applause. Some wiped away tears of joy, while others beamed with uncontainable happiness. The air was thick with love and celebration. Lost in the beauty of the human ritual, I barely registered the subtle knock at my door. The sound abruptly pulled me from my reverie, and I tore my gaze away from the window. My eyes met familiar gray ones, paired with a mischievous smirk that I knew all too well. Well, aren't you creepy as hell? Spying on some random human's wedding. Dominic laughed, his muscular frame nearly filling as he leaned against it. Despite being only 16, our pack's beta exuded confidence and strength. I bristled at his teasing. "And what do you want?" I sneered, trying to mask my embarrassment at being caught. Dominic's smirk widened. "Can't start a game of wolf hunt without our tiniest member," he said, his voice laced with playful challenge. You up for it? Runt. Without hesitation, I darted past him and rushed down the wooden stairs, his raucous laughter echoing behind me. I sped through the narrow hallways, dodging young children at play and narrowly avoiding collisions with adults. Their complaints about my reckless behavior followed me, but I paid them no mind. Bursting through the heavy chestnut doors, I was greeted by the fresh scent of wet grass and earth. A smile spread across my face as I took in a deep breath of the cool, invigorating air. The primeval forest surrounding our pack house stood tall and proud, its thick, sturdy trees forming a natural barrier that kept our territory hidden from prying eyes. As I admired the lush greenery, I couldn't help but reflect on the importance of our seclusion. It was just about keeping enemies at bay. The threat of human discovery loomed large. If they ever found their way into our sanctuary, the consequences would be dire. Our pack's survival depended on keeping our inner wolves, what humans called werewolves, a closely guarded secret, even if it meant taking drastic measures to protect ourselves. A tingly feeling approached my feet, and as I looked down at them, I chuckled, realizing that I had forgotten to wear shoes over the excitement. Oh well, I thought, I don't even need them anyways. I made my way to a thick oak tree, wide enough to cover my small body. I ducked behind it, quickly stripping off my clothes. My inner wolf got more and more eager to shift into our beautiful animal form, and howled happily as I heard the first snap of a bone. I quickly pulled off my thin-wired circular glasses, securing them safely underneath the clothing as the snapping became more consistent. My typically horrible eyesight sharpened, and my muscles stretched out in ease. One of the most satisfying feelings ever. Soon, a dark rust-colored patch of soft, silky fur erupted and grew into a thick coat around my body. I stood on all fours, my paws enjoying the soft soil. I inhaled the empowering scent of the forest around me with my sharpened senses. It was all so surreal. I howled, letting my raspy wolf voice become clear. I sniffed out the pack. A crowd full of sweet summery scents and followed it. I spotted a lean, golden wolf that was beautifully muscular, I crept up silently behind her, easily hidden through the larger wolves. Being a smaller wolf had its advantages, like hiding. I cowled and run as fast as some of the other wolves or was as strong as them. But honestly, it didn't bother me. Being teased wasn't a big deal. The whole pack was like a huge family who always teased one another. I leapt on the golden wolf and she howled, but shoved me playfully when she realized it was just me. A silvery white wolf trotted towards us, her soft violet eyes bright, indicating that she was smiling at us. The golden wolf was out to leap on her too, but a large snarl caught our attention. The white wolf instantly stood up straighter, just like the golden one. They were attentively facing a large black wolf, like all of the others. I trotted up to him casually and licked his cheek. He barked, almost as if he was laughing. Even though Dominic looked way more terrifying in his wolf form, I wasn't afraid of him, since he was the beta. He normally got to choose which one of the wolves playing would be the hunter in the game. He nudged me in with the wolves. He scattered. I could hear them barking in amusement. I sighed and mentally counted to minutes, wondering why Dom would choose me. He knew very well that this was going to be unfair for me because of my limited crappy abilities as a small wolf. As the 2 minutes came to an end, I sprang onto a tree and swiftly climbed up, hopping silently from branch to branch. I guess I'd have to put my minor wolf size to a good use. I quietly crouched at the top of a thick and stable tree, focusing my gaze on the obvious hiding spots, such as the bushes or behind big trees. Arizona. The silver-white wolf stood out like a sore thumb in the heaps of green and brown. I spotted a few more wolves, mentally noting where they were. Leaping from tree to tree, I snuck up on some wolves and pranced on them. Arizona was easy, as my eyes cowled and missed the flashes of bright white for helplessly running around. I was completely out of breath by the time I had caught half of the players, so I crept to a small stream and took a needed and long drink of refreshing water. I bent down for another drink when a rustle in the bushes next to me made my ears perk up. If I pretend not to notice, I thought, I can probably catch this sneaky wolf. I slowly turned around, trying to look nonchalant as I walked behind the bush. It was actually a really good hiding spot, covered in dark mud and looking untouched. Without another thought, I jumped right into it, ready to bark happily at the next catch. But then my nose caught whiff of a spicy scent which consisted of cinnamon and a hint of fresh pine. It was so intoxicating that I almost forgot to look at the wolf in front of me. My eyes widened. I didn't think twice as I hopped onto the enormous dark wolf and let out a victorious cry make its way through my throat. This was the first time ever that I'd caught Dominic in a game of wolf hunt. Me, a runt, caught the beta. I had to let it sink in fully before nudging him in the shoulder. He barked and nudged me back, which almost made me fall over. He was about to bark again, but then his nose perked up, sniffing the air around him, which made him sprint away. Maybe the alpha was calling him, now that it caught Dom, and had the satisfaction of it. The adrenaline pumping through my veins became so strong that I effortlessly caught 3 more wolves. When the time was up, I was breathless and my dark-colored fur was matted with sweat. I slowly trudged back to the clearing where we started the game, panting, even though I only missed 2 wolves left to catch. It didn't stop me from smiling. This was the best I had ever done as a hunter, whenever I was a hider. I was the pro, easily fitting into ridiculously small spaces. Many of the wolves barked happily at me and some of them even licked my face good-naturedly. Golden fur flashed in front of my eyes. It was my best friend, Amber. She whistled sharply at Arizona, the white wolf, and she trotted over. Amber's blue eyes glistened with pride as the undefeated champion of wolf hunt, but still came over to embrace me. Arizona nuzzled against me. I smiled even more at my best friends. They let go of me when the sound of snapping bones became apparent. I groaned. It was time to shift back again. I spotted Dominic again and I walked over to him, my tongue sticking out, about to ask if I could stay in my wolf form for a bit longer. But I stopped, noticing that he inhaled sharply, like he did back at the bush, and motioned with his head for me to come meet him inside. He ran away so fast that I didn't even have a chance to argue. I walked back to the sturdy oak tree and shifted. Once again my vision loosened, and I fumbled around for my thin crusty glasses underneath some leaves while slipping my clothes back on. After 5 more minutes of searching, I gave up. I was going to find them. Time to go back to the drugstore and buy some tacky ones again. I sighed. Fortunately, I knew this forest like the back of my hand, so getting back to the pack house was the challenge. At the edge of the woods, I inhaled the smell of wet grass for the last time that night, and entered the lively wooden pack house. As I turned me around the corridor, the strong scent of cinnamon and fresh pine once again greeted my nose. It oddly made me feel very tingly and alive, and my wolf elated. It was a weird feeling. The closer I got to my room door, the stronger the scent became, and I felt attracted to it. Once I arrived at the mahogany door, the scent hit me like a truck. I looked up to find dark gray-eyed Dominic, and even though my glasses weren't present, I strangely noticed every little detail about the boy. The way his snug black shirt hugged his muscular abs, the way his dark crippling hair suddenly looked so touchable, and the way his eyes made me shiver in an unthinkable delight. How come I had never noticed any of this before? I stood there with my throat suddenly dry, unable to find any word to slip out of my mouth. I didn't even blink because I was too busy checking him out. He cleared his throat and handed me a rectangular package wrapped in a beautiful soft blue paper. My brows furrowed in confusion, but I opened it and quietly gasped. It was a brand new pair of glasses, and they looked expensive. "Not bad today," he murmured. I blinked, my heart rate increasing unnaturally by the second. "Happy birthday, D," he whispered. My wolf went crazy at the sound of my name on his tongue. I met his gorgeous eyes, trying to stammer out a thank you or just anything at all, but the only word that managed to escape was mate. Chapter 2, Ugly Little Reindeer. It was indeed a very sleepless night. After Dominic had given me my present and all I replied was mate, he gave me a smile and told me to meet him tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, which was now 5 hours and 43 minutes away. As I was lying on the bed, I couldn't help but smile like a complete idiot. Dominic was my mate, the beta who lived next door to me in the pack house, the beta who always liked to call me Runt, the very beta which almost every unmated wolf swooned over was mine. All mine. I was beyond happy at the thought of someone finally loving me, and I couldn't have been happier at the fact that it was Dominic, the same person who held my hand all those years ago and led me through the front doors of this pack house. And as I was comfortably snuggled in my homemade quilt, I thought of all the future possibilities of our lives together. I could imagine cuddling next to him, holding his hand during pack meetings, and the touch of his lips on mine. It was too perfect. I had never looked at my best friend this way. It was strange but nice. I mentally thanked the moon goddess for pairing me with the most perfect person. I flipped my pillow to the other side, embracing the cooler side of the pillow in the hot and thick air, and wondered how Amber and Arizona would react when I would tell them. When will I tell them? I thought, snatching my phone from my bedside table and typing faster than the speed of light. I squinted as the bright light hit my eyes in the dead of the night. I was even wearing my glasses but still managed to type out everything. I knew it would be better to tell them face to face, but I could hardly contain my excitement. They also needed to help me choose my outfit for tomorrow morning. It was funny though, considering that Dom had seen me in just about everything, from embarrassing pajamas to hideous Christmas sweaters, but I think it would be nice if I at least tried to look presentable. This whole mate thing was a big deal. I suddenly grimaced, thinking of how Dom saw me last night. I imagined it perfectly, a tiny and skinny girl with dark auburn, brown hair sloppily tied into a ponytail which was matted in sweat, wearing a graphic T-shirt and shorts. She was just standing there with bad posture and her mouth probably hanging open, making the whole situation more awkward than necessary. Damn, I must look ugly as hell. Tomorrow, I definitely needed to step up my outfit game and make this boy fall over when he sees me. I'm pretty sure there was a dress in my messy closet somewhere and that my legs were shaved. Right. I yawned. That was way too much excitement for one night. Probably the best present a girl could ever get. 5 hours and 17 minutes left. I tried to get my mind off of him and allowed myself to close my eyes and think about the current book I was reading. Shortly after, I fell asleep, not hearing the small alert from my phone of a text message reply. I didn't know whether it was the early rays of sunlight that flashed in my eyes or the rapid knocking at my door. But I was awake. I groggily caught a glimpse of the time, which read 6 a.m. Who the hell would be here so early in the morning? I thought, as the knocking became much more consistent and noticeably louder. Come in, I called out, too lazy to get the door myself. Then my heart rate became 1,000 times faster, and I found myself fully awake as a thought struck my mind right when the doorknob turned. What if it was Dominic? I knew that he was a morning person, but surely he didn't mean for me to meet him this early. He'd known me for 8 years now, and he knew not to barge into my room before 11 a.m., so what was he? Stop overthinking whatever you're thinking right now. Instant relief flooded through me when I recognized the voice. A female voice. I'm not overthinking. Amber. I lied, throwing my warm quilt back over my head. Unfortunately, though, the covers were pulled back down again, exposing me in a baggy tee, shirt and a pair of tights with ugly little reindeer all over them. Amber stood over me, with one manicured eyebrow raised and her small nose scrunched in disgust. Her blue eyes trailed over me. Okay, first of all, it's July, she retorted, staring at my reindeer tights. And second of all, you really think you're going to meet your lover boy looking like a homeless person? I rolled my eyes. Shut up. Amber, I was planning to wear that gray dress from last Christmas, I said, wondering if it would still fit. No need to. Arizona and I got you this. Amber pulled out a velvet box she was holding behind her back. It's your 16th birthday present. Idiot. Laughing, she tossed the box with perfect precision onto my lap. I sat up in my bed and carefully opened it to reveal a soft chiffon material. Upon further investigation, it turned out to be a short blue dress with elegant lace arms stopping around my elbows. It was beautiful. Wow, Amber. I thank you so much, I stammered, breaking into a grin. I leaned over to hug her, and she hugged me back for 2 seconds before abruptly letting go. Hush, save that mushy stuff for Dominic. She winked. I blushed and playfully threw the box at her head. Of course, I missed, and she caught it with one hand. It was probably because of her inhumane athletic reflexes that I've always questioned. I still can't understand how this girl woke up at 5 and every day to do her hourly morning run when I can't even wake up at 11 a.m. on a normal day to walk down the hall. So, where's Arizona? I asked. I set the dress aside carefully and rolled out of my bed, stretching my limbs. Amber whirled a strand of her blonde hair between her fingers and thought. I actually don't know. Her parents had to talk to her for something urgent, she explained. I nodded, running a brush through my ferocious auburn hair, which currently resembled a bird's nest. I silently thought about how lucky Arizona was. She was a well-respected wolf in the pack, who was fortunate enough to have her whole family with her. Unlike many of us here, not only was she undeniably sweet, but she was also granted the gift of pure beauty. Her long locks of blonde hair were so light that looked silver, which complemented her doe-shaped violet eyes. Her smile was always radiant, and her thick lashes were mesmerizing every time she'd blink. The best thing was, Arizona never used any of that for bad things. She was as nice as she was lucky. Anyways, I would help you straighten your hair, but I gotta run before the alpha, or the beta, catches me here, she exclaimed. Good luck, D. She gave me a smile, and her turbulent blue eyes were full of mischief before she scurried out the door. The absence of her bubbly and energetic presence made the room much more silent, which I didn't like. So I let my thoughts drive it away, as I opened the door to my small bathroom and got ready for my shower. By 11 a.m., I was finally ready. Normally being the person I am, It would only take me 10 minutes to get ready, never 2 hours. But maybe that was just because I would always just throw on a comfortable tee, shirt and skinny jeans, skipping the entire process of putting on makeup or doing my hair. It always admired the girls with flawless makeup. They looked even more beautiful than they normally were, with their badass sharp eyeliner and bold lip colors. Me, on the other hand, I normally fumble to properly put on mascara without stabbing myself in the eye for a couple of times. Today was an exception, though. It took me a while to master the basic but elegant makeup look, but it turned out looking decent enough. I slightly moved around my toes in a pair of black leather flats, still contemplating whether I should have just switched them for my comfortable and worn-out pair of Converse. But as I stuck my new Ray-Bans on my face and finally got a clear view of myself in the mirror, I smiled, happy with how I looked. I really hoped that this outfit would make up for my horrid look from last night. My heart fluttered at the thought of last night. I couldn't wait to see him again. Should I go right now? Or would it seem like him too desperate and eager? I thought, once again overthinking. Maybe he was already, runt. A masculine voice called out, on the other side of my door, which made my heart flip and nearly fly out of my chest. No one told me this would happen every time I'd hear his voice. Yeah. I'm coming. I croaked out. God, why was I embarrassing myself? This was the same guy who had teased for years and was never nervous around. What was wrong with me? Every step I took closer towards the door, my heart rate would speed up. My inner wolf kept yipping excitedly. Before I reached the door, I breathed in deeply, bracing myself, with my hand hovering above the doorknob. I was about to give myself a mental pep talk, but stopped when I could smell his scent. I found myself wanting more, which made me fling open the door. Chapter 3, Just My Luck. I stood there, hoping I wouldn't fall at the sight of him. He looked absolutely perfect, with his tousle bed hair. He pushed his dark locks out of his face like he always did. I met his stormy gray eyes, which were oddly expressionless, but I couldn't help but smile as my eyes traced his sharp jawline all the way down to his neck-tee which hugged his defined chest. Eye candy at your finest. Runt, you might wanna take a picture. It'll last longer. Dominic smirked. I laughed, remembering how I thought that this morning would be awkward. Instead, it felt like everything was normal with our usual joking around, but it had a hint of dangerous attraction that definitely was there before. I felt my cheeks heat up as his eyes trailed me up and down, checking me out. He raised his eyebrows and leaned against the wall. I couldn't tell what could possibly going through his mind, as his eyes remained unfaltered. So we're mates, he finally said, after what seemed like an eternity of being deep in thought. I guess, I replied. He studied my face carefully, and it was uncomfortable, but my inner wolf craved for more. Shut up, you hoe. I mentally growled at myself. He let out a deep breath. I just can't do this, he stated. I blinked. I knew what was coming. I knew the feeling all too well. That feeling I had been trying so hard to escape my whole life. Except now a wave of it had crashed back into my life. I didn't know it would be back so soon, especially from the one person who had always trusted so much. The one person who I was destined to be with. The one person who was my rock. The feeling made me sick. It's just hard to see myself living the rest of my life with you as my partner. Dee shuddered. I felt numb. No words came out of my mouth. There was no point in saying anything, but part of me already knew what was coming next, and I wanted to ignore that part so badly. I finally looked up at him and noticed he was about to continue. The words escaped my mouth before his own venomous ones could sink back into me again. I get it. You're rejecting me. My wolf went ferocious. Just get it over with. I whispered the last few words. My last traces of hope shriveled and died as I said them. He looked surprised, but still spoke. I, Dominic F.A. Elbrook, reject my mate, Destiny Evans. And that was the very moment the pain sunk in. I could only muster up a nod, and quickly slipped into my room and collapsed against the door. It felt like fire had replaced every ounce of blood in my body, and it burned. It felt like I had shattered into a million pieces and all of those pieces drifted away into nothingness. And it killed. It felt like all of the hope, love, and emotions were brutally murdered. And it hurt. Even fate didn't want me. I never expected that the pain of rejection would be so physical. I almost stopped breathing when I realized my inner wolf was suddenly silent. I couldn't lose my inner wolf. Not after everything I had lost over a stupid boy. A stupid boy who was designed to hold me, care for me, and to love me. The last thought sent a shocking pang of pain through my veins and I cried out. But it merely sounded like a weak whimper. I felt so pathetic. It had only been half an hour ago, where I felt like I was on top of the world. And here I was now, literally on my knees. I still couldn't connect to my wolf though. Where was the other half of my soul? Being a wolf meant I was free, and I could always forget about everything when I got to transform. Even though it ruined my life the moment I found out I was one. It was the best thing that had ever happened to me. I guess it made up for the loss of my parents, my home, my normal life, and everything else fucked up. I couldn't lose it now. Luckily though, I felt a small snarl inside of me. It was quiet, but it was there. The wolf side of me was gone after all. Hours passed with the same excruciating pain, which fortunately lessened, but not by much. It stayed there, in a dark pit of my heart. I could feel it in every heartbeat. It would just be a reminder to me that Dominic F. Elbrook was mine after all. It was just another stupid reminder that people you trust will always leave you. Or maybe it was just my luck. Taking a shivery breath, I slowly stood up, shrugged off the dress and hung it in the closet. As much as I wanted to toss it in a corner and never look at it again, I could only imagine how long it must be took Arizona to adjust it to my size. I slipped on a loose sweatshirt and threw the hideous tights back on. I scrubbed off the remains of the runny makeup off of my face. The new glasses rested on my bed, and I had to fight the urge to not throw them out. I couldn't afford Ray-Bans. It would be a waste to chuck them in the trash. I placed them back on my eyes and a stabbing pain pounded my chest. "Happy birthday, Dee," he murmured. The exact way he said my name was engraved in a crevice of my mind, Dee. I shrieked, turning around. "Chill, girl. It's only me, Dee. What happened?" Amber's bubbly smile faltered instantly when she saw me. "H-H-E-S not M-ine," I replied, in a throaty whisper, begging myself not to break down. I could already feel the tears ready to fall again. I felt so stupid. Climb over a rejection. I didn't want to feel like this. Amber gently took a few steps closer, softly closing the door behind her. Her eyes were full of concern. "Really?" Dee, she asked. "Does it look like him lying?" I yelled, crumpling to the floor, the pain coming back even worse. I felt her sit beside me, and she wrapped her arms around me. "You don't deserve this," Amber sighed. "And I know you probably don't want to hear this right now, but Arizona, her family is leaving the country for important business. She wanted to say bye, but I guess now. I don't care." I cried. "Just leave." "But Dee, I want to help you." I could hear the hurt in her voice, but the pain, the horrid pain was just drowning out everything right now. I couldn't even think straight. "Please, go," I said. Silence. A door slam. Cracking bones. Fierce howls. I felt a bit more at peace in my wolf form. I shook my fur out and allowed my feral animal emotions take control of me. I wanted to be anything but pathetic little Dee Evans. I leapt out of my window swiftly, landing on all fours from the jump. As the smell of grass and leaves hit me, the adrenaline kicked in. I looked back at my open window from the second story, and then hastily pushed my weak legs until I reached the middle of the forest. And I howled. I howled not because of my mate, but because of the past 16 years. Hours became days. Days became weeks. I lost weight. My eyes grew darker, and I rarely left my wolf form. Everything had changed. Everything except for the sickening and gruesome pain. which kept me up every night and made me howl in agony. The pain that I tried to block with endless stares. I was so consumed by this pain that I hadn't even realized when the alpha of the pack died. I should have been grieving like the rest, but I had been grieving for a while now. Soon, Amber and Arizona both gave up on me. They used to come to my room to check up on me every day, but those days shifted into weeks. We were distant, and it was yet another thing that kept me feeling sad. But most of all, I was mad. This mate rejection had taken full control over my once decent life. It always had me in a discordant mood, made me lose my appetite, and also made me want to cry all the time. I didn't choose to be like this. I didn't ask for my best friend to hurt me like this. I didn't ask to be constantly unwanted. I rarely asked for anything. Chapter 4. We won the bet. My eyes snapped open. What day was it? I took a couple of deep breaths. It was like time even mattered anymore. I blinked, allowing myself to capture the intricate details of the forest around me through my wolf eyes. I almost smiled when I saw how beautifully the droplets of rain glistened on bright green leaves. Yawning, I stretched out my long and shaggy legs and then stood up, wondering what breakfast would be today. Maybe a rabbit, or a fresh fish, I thought. My stomach grumbled happily in response to the thought of fish. The last time I consumed proper food must have been over a day ago. But who cared? It's not like the forest had too many options anyways. Maybe it was time to go back to the pack house. The thought triggered a round of pain to rattle through my frail body. I roared against it and dashed out of the forest. A big part of me told me to stop and go back to my safe haven. The forest. The place where no one could judge me, or stare at me, or assume anything. But the other part of me, the small measly one, told me to stop being selfish and check up on Amber and Arizona, the only people who actually mattered here. As soon as their names appear in my mind, and I think of their concerned faces for me, I run faster. I run even faster, reminding myself that I'm not the only one with problems. Once I reached the pack house, the burst of different summery scents greeted my nose, but the one that made me helplessly whimper was his scent. Cinnamon and fresh pine. It had been a few months since I returned to the pack house. It needed time to myself, and isolation from everyone else had given me a sense of peace. But now that I was back and smelling his scent again, I couldn't help but think, I love his scent, yet do I love him? The wolf inside of me said yes, though my brain said no. Where was my heart when I needed it? I was just so confused. I thought that a couple of months in the woods would give me time to stop thinking about him. But here I was again wondering about my love for him. I was only 16. Was it even normal for wanting to scream or cry every time I thought about him? No. God damn it. I wish I was normal. Tad, you're it. My ears perked up and I turned around to see a young, small wolf. He had short brown fur and his hazel eyes were full of youth and freedom. They turned to a dangerously dark shade the moment they my own eyes. Realization dawned on the pup, and he yelped and ran off. Shit. Did people talk about me that often while I was away? I gulped, and swiftly trotted to the back of the pack house towards my room. What a stupid pack, I thought. My window was still open after all these months, exactly how I'd left it. But the thing that struck me weird was the abrupt scent change. His room was right next to mine, and I had been mentally preparing myself for his scent. Yet I couldn't find a trace of it near my room at all. He must be moved rooms because my own scent was lingering and he couldn't stand it. I had to remember that I was the only one affected by this rejection. However, was it as painful for him as it was for me? I highly doubted it. In front of my bedroom window on the second story stood a large oak tree. The same had been playing on since I was 8 years old. After all these years of climbing it, whether I was in wolf or human form, it was easy for me to leap up it and jump through my window and into my room. When I leapt through, I blinked. My room was spotless, clean, and perfect. Nothing like the mess I had left it in. So why was the window open? Unless someone had been waiting every day. Welcome back. Dee chimed an all too familiar voice. It's about time. I howled happily. Before I could think twice, I shifted open my closet door with one potted into it, quickly transforming back and throwing on whatever I could find. Running out, I stumbled but crushed Amber into a hug. "Dee, I was so freaking worried about you," she cried, holding on to me. I held on to her, because I had missed her too, but after being in my human form after months, it took a few steps to adjust to my clumsier self and needed some support to hold on to. As I hugged her, a sour thought entered my mind. How did I just abandon my best friend? What kind of a person did that make me? A selfish one. Amber, I'm sorry. I choked out, pulling away and looking her in those beautiful blue eyes of hers. Her lips formed into an amazing smile and she shook her head. But I continued. "No, I really am sorry. I've just been so selfish and only thinking about myself. I didn't even care that you in Arizona were so concerned about me, and all I did was push you guys away. I feel like a horrible person, so I'm sorry about the past few months. Stop apologizing. I can hardly imagine what you must be gone through," Amber muttered. "Anyways, you're probably starving." "Girl," I nodded vigorously, and my stomach grumbled to back that up. It sounded like a wail. Amber giggled and we were about to walk out of my room, but I caught sight of myself in the mirror and shrieked. There were small twigs and leaves in my unbrushed hair. I wasn't even wearing my glasses, and I was wearing an old shirt and a crusty pair of shorts. Amber saw and laughed even more. "I'm going to go take a shower," I announced, picking up a cleaner shirt from my closet and black sweatpants. Once I made it into the shower, I sighed in bliss as the hot water streamed over my body, and I scrubbed my favorite lavender body wash. The forest was truly an amazing place, but I'd almost forgotten about the luxuries that I took for granted, like hot showers and coconut shampoo. I cringed at the memories of me taking freezing baths in the local streams in my wolf form. I finished showering and then dried myself with a fluffy white towel. After changing into my clothes, I quickly ran a comb through my tangled hair and managed to put it up in a floppy, messy bun. I pulled my glasses on and thanked the goddess that I could see much clearer now. I slipped out of my bathroom to see Amber perched on the edge of my bed, her forehead creased with worry. I wanted to punch myself. Hard. I was probably causing her so much trouble with her looking after me, and even bothering to worry about me. I wanted to make her happy too, though I honestly had no clue what to do. I knew tall glasses of iced tea normally cheered her up, but this was the type of situation that couldn't be fixed with iced tea. I cleared my throat, and she instantly stood up, replacing her frown with an all-too-cheery fake smile. "You look much better," she said. "Gee, thanks," I replied, steering her towards the door. I tugged on the door handle and mentally reassured myself that if I saw his face, I would act normal. Perfectly normal. But what the hell was normal anymore? I was about to push the door open when Amber's warm hands suddenly gripped my own cold 1D. She suddenly whimpered, pushing up my sleeve to reveal scratches and cuts. I had got those from sleeping in trees and rough bushes as a wolf. They must be transformed onto my human skin. So what was wrong? "Have you really been cutting? Why, you're... Oh, so people do talk about me," I retorted, trying to keep the hurt out of my voice. So that's what she thought the cuts were. Shed believed the lies everyone else probably whispered about me day and night through the halls. My own best friend, who'd known me so well. I didn't believe them. I was just... "Dee, please," she sighed. "You're my best friend." I was really worried, and just seeing your arms I thought for half a second that maybe... "Amber, I would never do that." I shot back, a little too sharply. I swiftly opened the door and walked out, not even caring for a few seconds whether anyone saw me or not. Did my own best friend actually think that I would hurt myself because of a boy? I shook the negativity away from my mind and told myself that she was only looking out for me. I heard footsteps behind me and slowed down so she could walk next to me. Amber strolled beside me, and in an awkward silence that seemed to go on for an eternity, we reached the kitchen downstairs. Chills instantly ran down my spine, even though it was humid and hot. Multiple sets of eyes landed on me and the whispers began. I wanted to glare at them and tell them I had ears, but I didn't have the courage to. Some of the people who whispered had been my friends who used to talk to me often. Now they stared at me as if I was a walking lamp or something and not a member of their own pack. I kept my eyes locked to the floor and shuffled silently to the fridge, grabbing the first drink my hand could grasp. I took one glance at the half-empty bottle of vitamin water before chugging it. Yet as soon as I did that, I opened the bottle and spat the liquid back in it. It was his vitamin water. My throat burned at the feeling of cinnamon and pine, and I slammed the drink down on the countertop next to me. The people who stared at me earlier continued to stare at me even more, probably wondering what the hell was wrong with the drink. Embarrassed, I sat down on a chair by the kitchen table, already wanting to run back to my room. "Hey, Dee." I turned around to see a pair of hauntingly gorgeous violet eyes. It was Arizona, smiling. I didn't say anything as I pulled her into a hug and inhaled her sweet scent of roses and honey. I had missed her a lot too. "Welcome back, Dee," she said softly. This is what I loved about her even after I had left for months and made no effort to contact her. She welcomed me back with open arms and no questions. "Thanks," I whispered, almost smiling. I forced myself to smile for her, and I did, although it faded rapidly when she began to speak. "I think Amber told you a while ago, but I'm moving away in 2 days," she began, but the rest just sounded like I was underwater. It struck me that I may not ever see her again. I had wasted my time in the forest when I could have spent it with my friends. Why was I so stupid? After all these months, I still didn't know. "I'm really sorry, Arizona," I said, letting go of her. Her eyes were calm and happy, and she shook her head. "It's all right, Dee. Just promise me that you'll make the most out of these next 2 days with me," she asked. Of course, I promised. It was the least I could do, and I felt even worse of how Arizona was so nice about it. As Amber, Arizona, and I were about to leave the kitchen, a trail of male voices stopped me. "It'll be right upstairs, guys. Just give me a second," I whispered to them. As they made their way upstairs, I peered back into the kitchen at a few of my other friends who I hadn't seen since left. At the table where I had just been sat a bunch of guys who would always play Wolf Hunt with. Zach, Jared, Ricky, and Dylan sat huddled around the bottle of vitamin water. "Pay up. Man, we won the bet." Zach laughed, staring at Jared and Ricky. Dylan, who sat beside Zach, smirked. "Fine. But I didn't really think Dom would do that to his own best friend." Ricky sighed, counting a wad of cash in his hands. "They're talking about Dominic. But what bet?" I thought curiously, stepping in a little bit more to hear better. These were the guys in Dom's main crew, so what were they doing? "HS a beta bro. Why would he want someone like her to be his mate?" Dylan snorted, eyeing the cash in Ricky's hands. I became still in an instant, as I realized what the bet was about. They were talking about me. Those idiots had bet Dee that Dominic would reject me, and it made me furious. They had no right to laugh and bet money on something so serious and painful. Those jerks had been my friends merely months ago, friends who I had trusted for many years. Was I really that pathetic and so much of a loser that they already assumed Dom was going to reject me? I was angry and hurt, and I wasn't going to let the tears in my eyes fall. I wasn't going to let those guys see my weakness and show them that I was just going to cry all the time. So without thinking twice, I stomped into the kitchen with eyes at the guys. "Oh my gosh." I was surprised when he rejected me, I exclaimed, placing a sarcastic smile on my face, stopping at the table. One by one, their eyes landed on me. Dylan's face went pale, Jared's mouth hung open, and Ricky and Zach's eyes went wide. "Dee, we weren't actually serious. We just," Ricky stumbled, trying to hide the money behind him. How about, I take that," I told him, snatching the cash out of his hands and storming off. I didn't dare cast another glance behind me as I ran up the stairs. a wall of tears ready to crumble from my eyes. Why were people so cruel? Chapter 5. I got kicked out. In the hot, humid air, I stared out the window wishing I was a player in the game of wolf hunt outside. I imagined the fresh air flying against my face in the vast forest. Yet instead I was trapped in my room, sweating in the thick heat. I was wearing baggy shorts, a tank top, and my hair was pulled up with my glasses resting against my nose. And I was still burning. It's not like anyone stopped me from playing. It was the way everyone acted around me. Every situation became 1 times more awkward when I was in it. No one would really talk to me or even try to attempt a conversation, making me feel like I was always invisible. The couple of times I had tried to play wolf hunt, Dominic would somehow find an excuse to not play, which really hurt. It was bad enough that he rejected me, and now he didn't even want to be near me. Eventually, I stopped playing. No one noticed, but it was okay. I was fine here comfortably reading. The heat, though, got to me today. And it's like my body involuntarily led me to the window at my room to watch a shirtless 17-year-old Dominic content lie running around. Was his smile even real? Did he not feel the mate pull that tugged helplessly at my own heart every day? I shook the thought from my mind and pulled away from the window, returning to feast on my endless stash of candy, courtesy of Amber. I knew I should have cut down on the candy and mini chocolate bars, judging by the breakouts on my face. But lately, food was the only thing that never let me down. Besides, Amber had always told me to put my fast metabolism to good use. On top of that, Luna Roberta was constantly lashing out on me for no reason nowadays. 1 year had not only changed me, but Luna Roberta as well. Ever since our Alpha passed away, she went from a kind and caring woman to a cranky and sassy one. I knew it was probably really hard on her to lead the pack without her mate and raise a young son on top of all of that. But it was funny how she'd take out her anger on me of all people when she downright knew that I had my own suffering to deal with. I guess life wasn't fair. All of a sudden, the pack of Smarties in my hand dropped when the abundant scent of pine and cinnamon bursted through my nose. Why was he in my room? His stormy gray eyes met mine. That second where we made eye contact for the first time in a year seemed to go on for an eternity. I cowled and take my eyes away as I numbly realized how much I had missed his. I wanted to break contact, but my inner wolf was in full control. He cleared his throat. Sorry. He turned around and my eyes trailed down to his back muscles. Ever since the Alpha was gone, he had trained harder as a beta since he obtained more power and strength. It killed me how it made him look 50 times better. Still not processing what exactly just happened in the last few moments, I slowly got off my bed to close my door, but he instantly turned around and grabbed my hand, sending a shitload of sparks to shake through my veins. My heart began beating rapidly as I held onto his hand for no reason. We simply stood there, the tension dancing in the air. Had it really been a year? I felt the need to hold on to him forever and never let him go. But I knew that it was all the mate pull, which was essentially stronger now. By the way his gray eyes darkened, I knew his own inner wolf was uncontrollable as well. You feel the mate pull too? Right. His deep voice pierced the heavy silence. I was at an utter loss for words. He was actually speaking to me. I nodded stiffly, glancing at his hand gripped on my wrist. Sparks still trembling inside of me. It needs to stop. I can't hold it anymore, he murmured. I blinked. My heart involuntarily fluttered. Hope, a feeling I hadn't felt in quite a while, planted the tiniest seed in my fragmented heart. All of that waiting, all of that pain, it would finally leave me alone. He finally wanted me. It seemed so impossible yet so real at the same time. But when I made the mistake of looking at his earnest face, I felt like I was falling in love all over again. We could finally be together. Unless, I need to find another mate, he muttered, fast like fire. I tore my hand away from his. The words another mate echoed in my mind, killing me softly. I wanted to beg, plead, just straight out ask him why I was good enough, why I was so goddamned and wanted. He still continued to speak. every word like a fierce dagger puncturing me. My rank is higher now and I need a mate? It looks bad on me, especially when rival packs come to visit since I'm a beta. I just wanted to let you understand. All of that collective anger, sadness, and mix of emotions that had been holding and were finally ready to explode. That was the last straw. You want me to understand? I whispered, my voice shaking. You want me to understand that I mean nothing to you, that I'm worthless? Is this all about your reputation? Or was I too blind to see how much of a jerk you've become? You're changed, and you're nothing like that boy I met all of those years ago who became my closest friend, who held me when I had those nightmares. Who even are you anymore? Definitely not him. I can't believe you came to tell me this of all of the things. Like you need my permission or something. FYI, you're the one who rejected me. Well, good luck Dominic Fal Brooke in finding a mate. Cause an imbecile like you will need all of the fucking luck you can get. I spat. And without thinking, with anger coursing through my blood, I slapped him hard across his face, tears streaming down my face. And that felt good. He was stunned, but before he could muster up anything, another voice interrupted. How dare you disrespect the beta like that? Luna Roberta looked furious. Her hazel eyes were on fire as she looked at me with disgust. Get the hell out of my pack. And as a wolf, I could do nothing but obey. The word that I got kicked out spread faster than a forest fire. At only 17, I was the youngest ever wolf to be kicked out of the pack. I didn't even feel angry. I didn't feel sad. Life itself had drained away my emotions, leaving nothing but a corpse with a beating heart. You're only 17. You can't be a rogue. Amber cried for the 100th time. Yes, I can. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to survive out there on my own. I replied. Yeah, survive for a day. I rolled my eyes. Amber, why are you freaking out more than me? I sighed, flopping down on my bed. The very bed that I get to sleep on for the last night. I'm only concerned because you're not concerned at all. I'm serious. You know how dangerous it is for lone wolves to be by themselves. They're constantly getting hunted. You can't just expect to live out on your own and miraculously be found by a hot alpha who'll be your mate. This isn't like those stories, D. This is real life, Amber exclaimed. Her normally bright blue eyes were dark. Flecks of navy blue scattered across of them signifying that she really was concerned. Wait, I have an idea, I blurted. Amber immediately shot up from her slouched position against my pillow, her attention all on me. How about, I began, you go to sleep and forget about me like everyone else. She looked genuinely annoyed. D. Alpha Hunter's funeral is tomorrow. Right after that you have to be out of here. Amber reminded me. Tell me again why his funeral is tomorrow. Didn't he die all those months ago back, when I was in the forest? I asked. How do you not know? Amber sighed. Someone horrible person drowned him in that huge river by the west side of the forest. And they recently just found his body, which confirmed that he is actually dead. It's only fitting to have his funeral when we know that HE's really dead and not just missing. Now can you stop being so negative and just be yourself again? Oh, how bad I wanted to tell her that every single night I'd wish to the moon goddess to be myself again. To be happy. To have a life. But a year can change a person, whether they liked it or not. So if I felt like being pessimistic, then there was nothing I could do about it. It just sucked for me. I don't think I have a black dress for his funeral, I said, trying to change the subject. Amber leapt up, her golden ponytail swinging behind her. She stood in front of my almost empty closet, rummaging through heaps of random articles. Why aren't you bringing half of these clothes? She asked, flinging them onto the bed. I loosely picked one up and flung it back in her direction. I don't even know where I'll end up. I'm not going to lug around my wardrobe everywhere if I'm living up in a tree. Amber stiffened angrily. Honestly, the next time you... Wait, I found something. She pulled out a lacy black dress. It was one I had gotten for my birthday last year from some of the guys. It looked similar to the one Amber and Arizona had gotten me, but it was rarely worn. Only that one time on my birthday. Do you think it'll still fit? She murmured, tossing it to me. I examined the flimsy thing and nodded. Come on. I'm practically a runt. When do I ever gain weight? I remarked, placing it on top of my bag, which was packed with its essentials. You're not a runt. But you do have a fast metabolism. Amber agreed. But really, I can still try to talk to Luna Roberta one more time if you want. Leave it. Leave it. I protested. We both know and done for. You should have seen her face yesterday. Let's just accept sex and get some freaking sleep. Chapter 6. Do I look like a serial killer to you? As usual. It was a sleepless night. I had tossed and turned, flipped over my pillow an innumerable amount of times, and had thought about what would happen to me. In front of Amber, I pretended like I didn't really care, but in reality, I was freaking out. I knew there was no way in hell someone as young as me would be able to survive out there on my own as a rogue. I had always heard chilling stories of rogues being brutally hunted or captured by opposing packs. Would I be the next wolf they'd tell stories about like that? The thought terrified me, but Amber didn't need to know that. After a few measly hours of sleep, when dawn finally decided to arrive, I got up and stretched. I noticed that after Amber left last night, she took the time to organize my closet. She was always thinking ahead. After taking a shower, I slipped on the dress. I tried hard to not think about last year, about how hopeful and happy I was in this dress. Now I was everything but that. I didn't bother with my hair, and just settled with a messy side braid. I perched my glasses on my nose and slipped on a pair of Converse. I walked out of the bathroom, ready to leave my life behind here. Looking back at my room for one last time, memories of my late childhood rippled through my mind. I remembered the first time I came here 9 years ago, totally clueless, lost, but wondrous. My eyes footed to the one floorboard that would always creak loudly if anyone stepped on it, and I remembered how Dominic would sneak into my room when I had nightmares, and was always careful to tiptoe over it. I looked to my small closet, and thought about that one time when Dominic was 12. He had headed in it to scare me, but I had pushed him so hard that he fell and had broken his arm. I silently snickered at that memory. I looked at my bed, and remembered all of the times Amber, Arizona, and I would watch horror movies in the dead of the night and try hard to not scream and wake up the pack. Every spot had a memory tied with it, and there would be no more to make. I guess it really was goodbye. Swinging my bag over my shoulder, I walked out of room 210 and took a deep breath, heading downstairs. I could feel multiple sets of eyes on me, ranging from innocent naive ones to wise and harsh ones. Normally, I hid any sign of emotion on my face, but today, I awkwardly gave a side smile, silently thanking everyone for the memories at this pack. Before reaching the front doors, I waited for a fraction of a second. My inner wolf didn't want to leave. It belonged to this place, and was loyal to it. But me, I didn't belong here anymore. I yanked the door open and gasped at how many people were here for our late Alpha's funeral. I noticed that there were quite a few neighboring packs and surprisingly picked out some humans as well. Normally, us wolves didn't really interact with humans and were always cautious to make sure that they never found out about us. Alpha Hunter, though, had been a kind and warm-hearted man. Everyone had admired him. Maybe that was why he had let me all of those years ago. Because he welcomed everyone with open arms. Move out of the way. Kid spat a voice. I squinted up to see Finley, a guy who used to be my good friend. Ever since I got rejected and the rumors had spread, he made sure that I felt like an outcast even more. But since this was my last day here, I wouldn't go silent. So you're calling me a kid, when you have the brain of an 8-year-old. I shot back, my heart hammering in anxiety. If this was only last year, we would have laughed and continued to fire back insults at each other. But by the way his silver eyes gleamed with anger, and his fangs bared, I knew this wasn't just joking around anymore. Shut the hell up, You freaking look like a goddamn 8-year-old. No wonder Dom rejected you," he retorted. I couldn't manage to say anything back. I just stood there, absolutely dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that Finn would ever say that to me. He stalked off, roaring in laughter with the other guys. "Need some aloe vera for that burn," someone hollered out behind me. I ignored it and quickly spotted out and walked towards her in embarrassment. I tapped her on the shoulder, and when she turned around, my mouth hung open. Aside from her long tuft of golden blonde hair and her perfectly done makeup, she was practically glowing. Her ocean-colored eyes were crystal clear, almost shimmering, and the happy aura surrounding her seemed to radiate off of her. "Hey, Amber," I sputtered, confused as to why my normally cool best friend was looking bubblier than a chipmunk with rabies. She began, smiling. "This is my mate, Connor," and as she said his name, she blushed, and I couldn't help but smile back. She looked so happy. The boy who stood behind her had light blonde hair, killer golden eyes, and a well-structured face. I could tell he was powerful, and by his unfamiliar scent, he was from one of our allying packs. "Hey," he said coolly, placing his arm around Amber as if they'd been together for 5 years instead of 5 minutes. I awkwardly waved back a hello. "Nice to meet you, MD," I replied, glancing away from the couple. My heart lurched when I remembered the exact feeling of when I had found my mate. I remembered the excitement, the hopefulness, and generally how blessed it felt. I knew I couldn't true in this moment for Amber, just because my own life wasn't exactly a fairy tale. Maybe I should have left the couple alone. Yeah, so I gotta go. Amber snapped out of her hazy trance and grabbed my arm, quicker than the speed of light. "You'll be back in a sec." She smiled shyly at Connor and dragged me away from the crowd. It was so weird seeing my confident and badass best friend acting this way. But the minute she faced me, I knew her boldness was back. What are we actually going to do about you?" "I'm going to have to move to Connor's pack, because HES and Alpha and all. But maybe I could ask if you could come too," she chirped. "It's not possible. Amber, first of all, I don't think the neighboring pack would want someone who's been kicked out. And second of all, I'm not your pet that you can simply bring around everywhere." I sighed. Amber's eyes began to water and I started shaking my head. "Oh no. Oh no 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 no," I yelped. "Amber, you are not going to cry. You are the baddest bitch and no. Tears began to spill hopelessly down her hurting face. "You can't be out there alone." Hell. I don't want to say goodbye," she whimpered. "It's okay. It'll be fine. I promise," I stated firmly, knowing damn well that nothing was going to be okay. "Destiny, please," she cried, my eyes widened in surprise. I had only told her my full name once, and that had been 7 years ago. I had always been known as D to everyone. So how did she even remember such a small detail about me? "Destiny, you can't be a rogue. You're going to die out there, and I can't imagine." I was about to reassure her when a voice suddenly interrupted us. "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I suggest you come with me and join my pack." I turned around ready to knock out the idiot who'd rudely eavesdropped on our emotional moment, but was utterly shocked to see that the guy looked nowhere near like he lived here. He was outrageously tall, with 2 less of dark brown hair, an ever so slightly crooked nose, and captivating mature green eyes that seemed to balance out his boyishness. "Who in the name of flying fucks are you?" I whispered, my eyebrows furrowing. The guy only chuckled casually, as if it told him a joke. His towering frame stood well over me and he raised his eyebrows. "That's not important. I think you should be making a decision right now," he said, almost demanding me. "Right now?" I asked, my eyes popping. I think it is pretty important to know who you are. For all I know, you could be a serial killer." The guy rolled his eyes. "Do I look like a serial killer to you?" he murmured. To be honest, he actually didn't. He wore jeans. a t-shirt, and a light brown coat sling head over his arm. He looked harmless, but of course I wouldn't admit that and give him the satisfaction being the stubborn person I was. So I shrugged. Fine. Good luck being a rogue, he said, turning around ready to stroll off now. I yelled. Okay, what pack are you even from? Arctic Lights. It's around 78 hours up north, he answered, turning around to face me again. The Arctic Lights. No way. Those were the crazy white wolves who lived in 20 ft deep snow. But the thing that stuck out to me was that the Arctic Lights were one of our enemy packs. And I couldn't just trust a random stranger. Look girl, I'm trying to help you. Either come with me, or die out there, he sighed, glancing at his watch. Well. He was straight up, but what he was saying was true. I was going to die out there, and this was probably the most irresponsible, reckless, and spontaneous thing I had ever done in my life, but I said, yes, I'm coming. I nodded firmly. I immediately regretted it though. What had I just agreed to? What if this guy really was a serial killer? Why would he want to kill me though? He didn't even know me. Exactly. Maybe he was a psycho rapist on the loose feasting on random. So you might want to stop overthinking and change into something warmer, because we have a train to catch. He muttered nonchalantly. I blushed in embarrassment. Was I that easy to read? Yeah. I'll be right back. I scurried off, grabbing Amber's arm behind me, who was still silent. The moment I was away from the guy's presence, she broke out into a huge grin. I'm so relieved, she gushed, embracing me into a giant hug which I returned. I smiled as we made our way to her room on the first floor. Amber, I think that was the stupidest thing I have ever done, I admitted, but I had no other options. Anyways, you're great. You know that. Now go with your mate. I'll say bye to you before I leave. She beamed, hugging me again before running back to her new sweetheart. Little did I know that that would be my final goodbye to my beloved best friend. The minute I stepped out in a pair of black jeans and olive green sweatshirt with my bag over my shoulder, the guy had dragged me away because we had a train to catch.